Hello and welcome to yet another exciting episode of your favorite auto show. This is ZEEGNITION, and this week we turn our attention to the blue ribbon of motor racing, Formula One, for a look at the last race of the 2014 F1 season, as well as the build-up to the Drivers' Championship that will be revealed at Abu Dhabi at the Yas Marina circuit.
Not running smoothly.
Now this year will go down in the history for Mercedes-AMG as one that was very special. Now not just did they clinch the Constructors' Championship at the Russian Grand Prix with 223 points leading over Red Bull, but their drivers as well have been doing fantastically well, with Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton fighting for the top positions. Now with the lead up to the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, what will this mean for the Drivers' Championship? Well, that's why we got our editor-in-chief Adil over here to shed some light on what we can expect on this race weekend. Now Adil, first of all, it's a very special last race coming up. What, in your opinion, makes this very significant?
Oh, it's the question that the Drivers' World Championship is going to be decided here. And I think in Formula One, the Drivers' Championship takes a little bit more of preeminence over the Constructors' Championship. And it's going to be a battle of wits. They say in racing that the first rival you have to beat is your teammate. And now both these teammates are fighting for the world title. And I think that is really of prime essence here.
Now Adil, of course, there's a lot to look forward to at this year's season ender. But what are these two drivers, Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton, going to have to do to make that
Most
mark?
important thing is car setup and how they do it for this tracks. And for that, let's look at the simulation lab done by Lewis Hamilton for the Yas Marina circuit.
Today I'm at the team factory in the top secret simulator. So today is all about testing for the setup, the fuel usage, the driving style, all those really technical things that we need on the race weekend. This is a lap of Abu Dhabi. This one's really important because it's the last race and it's double points. Okay, for the lap here, it's really important, again, always to get a good exit, shifting up perfectly in the lights. Turn 1, important to get back to the right, braking just after the 100-meter sign. Coming into turn 1. Flat out up the hill through the real fast, tight, long right-hander. Abu Dhabi is one of the newer circuits on the calendar. And circuit, the scenery is quite spectacular, and I think they spent the most on this track compared to any other. Plus, it's kind of a twilight race, so it starts off with the sunset and it goes off into the evening. Then breaking down into this tight complex here where the stadium is. Grip is very low into turn 6. Nice and wide on the way in. Really important the exit because you have such a long straight here where the DRS is used. If the technology in an F1 power unit was used in a normal road car, a €60 tank of fuel would cost just €40. Braking really late. It's very easy to lock the rears here or the fronts. Nice and tight through the first part of the chicane. Important to carry the speed through the second part and get the exit down another long straight with the DRS. Just two perfect opportunities, and you're going to wish you had a Mercedes-Benz engine when you're at this track. Braking into the chicane is very low speed, and it's just cars just skating the whole time. Have to brake really early for this left-hander. Again, apex and exit really important. Full gas again here. Positioning is really important, making sure you get the steering straight, otherwise you end up locking the right front. Hit the apex, carrying the speed through these next two corners, and take a lot of curb on the way in here. Run as wide as you can. Second to last corner, just brake just a little bit, you can carry a lot of speed through there. To the last one in third gear or so, using all the runoff area in the AstroTurf and the exit. And that's a lap of Yas Marina. So our work is done here at the factory. Now let's take it to the track.
Well, Lewis Hamilton there showing us how the pros clock those quick times. Now Adil, what's your take on that?
Most important thing is, if you care to see the battle of the two rivals, Nico Rosberg has a better qualifying record this year than Lewis Hamilton. He has got more poles than Lewis Hamilton. But by the flip side, Lewis has more wins than Nico, but he's had more retirement. Critical thing as far as Lewis Hamilton is concerned is he can afford to sit on Nico Rosberg's tail all throughout the Grand Prix. He has to only finish behind him and he wins the World Championship. But being a racer, will he do that? I don't think the natural instinct calls for that. Another aspect, amongst the pole positions which Nico has had and where Lewis has qualified second, Lewis has overtaken him 3 to 4 times and gone on to win the GP. Lewis has 10 wins to Nico's 5, and I think this is a battle of wits and also nerves. Who's mentally strong will really determine how they finish, how they qualify first and how they finish, and what happens during the Grand Prix.
So is this a team battle or is this a rivalry?
No, this is now a battle of individuals. The team has given both of them equal ammunition to do the business. They have also laid down the law very clearly after Spa, where Nico and Lewis touched. And so they have said very clearly, it's a no contact battle. You're free to go out and battle it cleanly. And I think Formula One deserves that. It will be a great battle if they do it that way. So it is down to the two men in the car right from Friday first practice till the checkered flag. So there is it's running on an absolute knife edge for both. Who's got the mental strength will determine who comes out on top.
Well, teammates or rivals, we'll let you decide on that. However, one thing is for sure, and that it's going to be one action-packed race at the Yas Marina circuit. However, time now for a short break. We'll be back with our build-up to the Drivers' Championship of 2014. Welcome back, you're watching ZEEGNITION. Now we are deep into analysing the final race at Abu Dhabi and what it means for the Drivers' Championship. Now Adil, this year the double point system comes into play for the final race. What does this mean for both the drivers, and will Nico actually be able to eke out a chance?
Yeah, I think on this point system, Nico has the best chance ever, even though he's only won half the GPs to what Lewis has won. Like I said earlier, it's got to boil down to how everyone makes the best use of whatever falls down their lap. They have to grasp every opportunity. For Nico is very ebullient because it gives him a fighting chance to take the title battle right to the last lap of the Grand Prix, which to all intents and purposes, if it was the earlier method of points, Lewis Hamilton would have been sitting pretty. So right now Lewis is on edge. Let's understand one thing. This is the first time ever Nico Rosberg will be in a title shootout in his career. Whereas Lewis Hamilton has been in a shootout twice. The first time he lost, the second time he won. So that must be playing very heavily on his mind. Whosoever handles that pressure best, without doing any damage to his car or his machinery or his tires or the setup, will emerge as the real winner to take the spoils. But let's not forget one more thing. There are 16 other cars also in the race. So let's not decry anything from McLaren. They will be strong this weekend. Red Bull, of course, are the next best to Mercedes-AMG. And if luck plays out for Fernando Alonso's last race with Ferrari, he could also do the business here. It depends on what is the mindset of the two drivers. Nico is very clear, he has to go for the win. So he will. Lewis, the best thing would be for him to sit on Nico's tail. If Lewis tries to scrap, then there could be a real humdinger of a battle here.
Well, of course, Nico Rosberg and Lewis are going to have to do a lot to stay ahead of not just themselves but the rest of the pack.
Sure.
Now, what do you see for the rest of the pack, and also what are some of the big problems that could pop up at Yas Marina?
Most important, like I said, there are 16 other cars Nico and Lewis have to contend with, and they are no slouches either. This weekend, you see Fernando Alonso in his last race for Ferrari. By the same yardstick, you would like to see Kimi Raikkonen try and put one across his outgoing teammate, and Kimi has also done very well here at the Yas Marina. Last year he won in a Renault. Red Bulls want to go out on a high as well. More so Sebastian Vettel, who has gone winless so far this season. Let's hope the dice throws in his favor this time. And also McLaren, they are really coming up, gradually improving the car race by race. So these are in the complete mix of things along with the two Mercs. The Mercs have the legs on the rest of the field, undoubtedly. And let's not forget the Williams. This is one race where the long Yas Marina straight could play out in the favor of the two Williams cars because they are stunningly quick in a straight line, and both Massa and Bottas could really take the fight to the two Mercedes-AMGs. As far as the circuit is concerned, it is very, very tough on brakes. And when you're talking tough on brakes, this is what happens because in the last few GPs, both Lewis and Nico have been marginal. More so Lewis rather than Nico. So how the brakes hold out is critical. Let's play out this brake animation video which shows you how much effort and wear this circuit demands on the brakes.
The hardest braking point on the Yas Marina circuit lies ahead of turn 8. Here the driver has to brake down hard, decelerating from 264 km per hour over just 133 meters. During braking, an equivalent of 2026 kilowatt of power is generated and the driver is subjected to 5.09 Gs and has to apply 129 kgs of pressure onto the brake. Let's talk a little bit about the success that Mercedes-AMG has faced this year with their Constructors' Championship. What's your take on that?
Yeah, the genesis of this success has not got to be seen in the light of view of what they've done in 2014. Actually, it is everything which Ross Brawn put into the mix for 2014 in the last year, which is really critical behind whatever successes they have achieved. And Mercedes driveline, which is including the energy harvesting system and the internal combustion motor, that has been overwhelmingly superior to those from Renault, from Ferrari. And this is really the thing. If you see the Force Indias, which have the same power pack, they have been quick on so many occasions. The Williams have been quick. It's only the aerodynamic inefficiency of the McLaren which hasn't made them quick. Otherwise, all those guys who wanted to have Mercedes AMG driveline behind their backs have been the fastest of the lot. That's why Fernando Alonso also said that he'd like to have any pack powering him apart from what Ferrari had this year. So this was in disgust because he was not being able to give free rein to his driving talent and no wins. So Mercedes AMG really has been the class act as far as the engine pipeline is concerned, and it's very relevant even for future road car development, and this is something which Formula One's biggest takeaway from this year.
Well, of course, Mercedes-AMG does know how to throw a party, so let's quickly catch up with the Mercedes-AMG F1 team to see how they celebrated their Constructors' title win.
The effort behind this year's championship was tremendous, and there are many people in Brackley and in Brixworth and Stuttgart who worked for that.
It's a great car. The team here in Brackley and in Brixworth have done an immense job actually to put together a car that has really dominated throughout the season.
Winning a constructor trophy for Mercedes, the first time it ever happened, is such a proud moment for all of us.
Many years ago I was fighting as a racing driver to achieve a world championship. On the evening I was world champion, I thought I didn't do a bad job. And I thought this was nice to achieve. But standing here, it's a completely different thing to me, to be honest. Because every one of you is now a world champion.
Every race weekend, you know, getting to the racetrack and knowing that I can be on pole and I can win the race with the car that you've given me, you know, it's such an incredible feeling. And there's not been one race weekend where I didn't have that feeling, you know. So it's just all the way through the season. So thank you very much for that.
These past 2 years have been the best 2 years of my life, and that's really down to you guys. So grateful for all the hard work. It's incredible, as Nico said, when we go to the race weekends and we know that we have a car that we can fight for a win. Fight for pole position. That's every driver's dream.
come here today and to see everyone, and everyone's so excited and just pumped. And it's strange because when you're standing in front of everyone, it's so difficult to come up with the right words to say, to really express how grateful you are for all the work everyone done.
It's a great feeling. I'm very, very happy for all of us. Finally, we're there where we want to be, dominating the sport. It really has been a long time coming, but finally we're there, and everybody deserves it so much. And that makes me really happy to see everybody enjoy this success so much. Everybody's put so much effort into it. And all these years building this up, and now we're, getting the reward for that, for all that hard work.
Well, with that, it's time for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with lots more F1 action. Welcome back to ZEEGNITION's F1 season finale special. Now, of course, the race is up on Sunday, but after that, there's going to be a long hiatus before the 2015 season comes up. Now, Adil, what is your take on that 2015 season?
Oh, I think we need to get some more teams back in, because we have lost out Marussia and Caterham, and I think that is important. F1 needs that depth in the field, and for sure right now the FIA or Bernie Bhaiya both don't have any answers, and I think that is really galling for the sport. Very importantly, next year marks the advent of Honda back in Formula 1 after a long time. I have just seen rushes of the prototype McLaren Honda undergoing its first test in England right now, and the Honda management has said very clearly that they are aiming for success right from the start in 2015. They say that Mercedes-AMG is the benchmark for them, and their engine and their drivetrain package will be right up on par with the dominant Mercedes-AMG driveline right now. There are big words from Honda, but if anyone has the wherewithal to do it with a small engine, the other electrical driveline, I think Honda is best equipped. Also, let's understand one thing. Lotus, for a long time, effectively the factory Renault team is shifting from Renault power to Mercedes next year. That's another very serious aspect, and I think you will suddenly see them climb much higher up the grid. I want to see Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen get a stallion which really prances. The Ferraris this year have been absolute sluggards. I also want to see Fernando Alonso try to make the McLaren as competitive quickly compared to what he and McLaren both have gone through this year. Mercedes, they have said that even though Nico Rosberg has signed for another 2 years with them, and Lewis is there till the end of 2016, they want to see if they can get Lewis to sign on the dotted line for 2 further years till 2018 at least. So a lot of good things, but most important, don't think that there is going to be a big gap from after Abu Dhabi right now on Sunday and the next GP. The work for 2015 begins after the checkered flag is dropped at Yas Marina. The work in fact has already started much earlier in the year. It's behind closed doors, in the wind tunnels, in the engine simulation rooms, but you will see a first precursor to all that on the 2-day season special test after Yas Marina at Abu Dhabi itself, and you'll see a lot of new younger talent also take to the wheels. Formula 1 never sleeps, never stops, and that's how it will be after Sunday as well.
All right, Adil, now coming back to talking about Nico Rosberg, he literally got a new lease of life after the Brazilian Grand Prix, where he actually came back into contention for the driver's title. Now, we posed a few questions to him, but what do you think drivers go through in between races?
Oh, they are very focused. They are utterly focused. I don't think anyone can really bring that intensity of their focus and application of mind, even what they do in their easy hours, as you say. They have to concentrate, they have to fine tune. It's all in the mind. I always say it's mind over matter. And Formula 1 guys really take it to the limit. Let's watch this small rundown of what Nico Rosberg did after winning the Brazilian GP this year.
Well, Nico Rosberg there being very candid. Now that's all the time that we have this week. We'll be back next week with lots more news, views and reviews. Until then, log on to our website. That's www.zeegnition.com. I repeat, that's www.zeegnition.com. Apart from that, you can also check us out on Facebook as well as Twitter. I'll see you next week. Enjoy the race.